How can we efficiently find duplicates in an array? That is the question we're trying to answer in this session. And basically, we're going to demonstrate how we can leverage hash tables to solve this problem and in an optimal way. We're going to be using this example array that we have here. So we'll use this example array, and the goal, of course, is to try and identify duplicate elements. And once, if you look at the array, you'll notice that 1 and 2 are the duplicate elements that we're trying to that we're trying to basically look out for. So before we get into a more optimal solution, a brute force approach here would be using nested loops. And now the problem with nested loops is that they take a time complexity of O of n squared. And if you decide to use hash tables, they are more efficient since they give us an O of one solution. I mean of n solution. So why use a hash table? So hash table basically allows us to do quick lookups. Yeah. So we can just have some of the reasons here. So we're able to get or rather to perform quick lookups. So we do quick lookups of what you're looking for. Then now operations such as insertion and search in a hash table basically take O of one. So operations, say insertion and search. This operation take a time complexity of one on average, right? So now the plan that we're going to have to try and find this duplicates in an array. First, we're going to iterate through the array itself. Then can just describe that process here, and I can use a different color for that. So the process we're going to follow. First, we're going to iterate through the array. Then after iterating through the array, for each element, we're going to check if that element is already in the hash table. So I'm going to check if already in hash table. And as we're checking for and whether that element is already in the hash table, if that element is a duplicate, basically we're going to go and store it somewhere. And if it is not a duplicate, we add it to the hash table. So check for duplicate. Check for duplicate. Basically, there should be a p. So we check for a duplicate. So if it is a duplicate, we will try and store it somewhere. And if it is not a duplicate, we add it to the hash table. So we're going to do some code implementation on this, and we're going to be writing this code in Python. So it's quite what you've done here, but now how we can represent that in code is we're going to have a function, and we can call this function find duplicates. Now this function is going to take in the array. So it's going to take in the array, and I should have the full colon here. It's going to take in the array. Now the first thing we do is we're going to initialize an empty hash table. So to initialize an empty hash table, I'm going to represent it like that as a dictionary. And after the next thing we'll do is we're going to also initialize an empty array or an empty list, in this case in Python, where we're going to be storing our duplicates. So we can have a variable called duplicates, and we initialize it with an empty array. These are going to be storing our duplicates. Now that we have the array, we iterate through the array, but we only do it once. So we can just say for num in array. Okay, for num in array, we're iterating it through it once. We check first of all if that num is already in the hash table. So we just check if num in hash table. If the number is already in a hash table, we basically are going to consider it as a duplicate. And if it is a duplicate, we're going to store it in the duplicates list that we have. So we just say duplicates dot append, and we append that number that is a duplicate. Else, if that element is not in the hash table, if that number is not in the hash table, we're going to add the number to the hash table. So what we'll do here is this hash table, and we are adding in the num. So we give it a value of true, like that. Right. So, and then finally, we're going to return the duplicates, since those are what you came here looking for. So we're going to return duplicates, and now we can just call our function and give it an example array. We already have an example array here that we can use. So this one, we'll just copy it, and we can have it here, can store it there, and we'll call the find duplicates function and print out the output. So find duplicates, and it checks in the array as an argument here, so you pass in array, like that. So now we should expect it to print to us the duplicates that are here. So what you need to do is just run the code. You say python 3. I call this file finding duplicates.py. And as you can see, it has already noted that 2 and 1 are the duplicates. Again, if you go ahead and add more duplicates, so let's say we add another duplicate like 3, and we can go ahead and also add more elements. So let's say 6, 7, 9, 5 again, 6. As you can see, we've added quite a number of duplicates. If we run our code again, it identifies all of those duplicates, and we're able to store them here. Right. So that is basically it on finding duplicates. Again, just to go through the process again, we start by initializing an empty hash table. Then we also initialize an empty list where we're going to be storing our duplicates in case we find them. And we start by looping through the array. So we iterate through this array, and we check for each of the numbers. And if that number, we check if the number is already in the hash table. If it is already in the hash table, that means that that number is a duplicate. So we store it, we append it to the duplicates list. If not, that means it's not a duplicate, and then we basically add it for future reference. Okay, so now just in terms of term complexity, the term complexity of this is going to take is of n, and as you can see here, it only has a single for loop, and where n is going to be the number of elements in the array. Again, it depends on the number of the number of elements in the array here, and the reason for O of n again is because we're only iterating through it once. So other operations such as lookups and insertion or in a hash table are going to take a time of O of 1. And in terms of space complexity, the space complexity is also going to be O of n, since we store each unique element in the hash table, right? Yeah, so that is basically it about finding duplicates in an array, and I hope you are able to get some value from this, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.